Everybody, welcome back. My name is Ryan. Did you get a haircut? You look fantastic. All right, so the iPhone 13 lineup was made available just under a week ago. At the time that I'm recording this video, it is a Thursday. It was released last Friday. Been using my 13 Pro, which you can see right there, ever since launch day, and I've been putting it through its paces. It's been my personal daily driver as well as my business daily driver, and I've got some good things to say and some not good things to say. The A15 Bionic processor is an absolute powerhouse, and we already know that. Apple doesn't typically have an issue with their in-house processors, and the A15 absolutely lives up to that. General processes, in and out of things in the phone, it is very, very speedy. I did adjust my animation, so it's more of that fade in, fade out transition as opposed to the zoom in and zoom out, and in my head, that makes the phone feel a little speedier. And having the new 120 Hz ProMotion adaptive display in this phone makes it feel even faster. I've actually come to really, really appreciate having the 120 Hz, and just for the sake of conversation, I toggled it so that the phone would max out at 60 Hertz, and it looked terrible. I had to go back to 120 Hertz much sooner than later, and even if that may or may not come at a disadvantage for the battery. So here's where we start talking about some of the not so great things. So the battery, yes, I remember I said this, that it's expected that the 13 lineup is going to be an absolute battery champ. And after having used this phone for roughly the last 4 or 5 hours, I have very similar predictions. I may have been wrong. Here's the thing. I don't want to say that I've really been pushing this phone. I did put it through its paces. I've been using it for personal and for business. My battery life has been unstable. So I'm going to be releasing an FTM podcast, First Take Media, sometime in the next day or two, maybe even this evening, depending on when you're watching this, of course. And I'm going to go more in depth here, but you're going to see on the screen here the notes that I took. I figured that it was just easier to put everything that I got into the Notes app, taking a screenshot, throwing it up on here for you to see, as opposed to me showing you the actual day in, day out battery through the settings of the device. But it was super unstable. There are some days where I just pounded the phone and the battery ended up at a fairly respectful number. But then there were days where I barely touched my phone and the battery just tanked. I'll give you a hint as to what I think it is. iOS 15. Listen to the podcast or watch the episode when it comes out, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth on that. In terms of the physical look and feel of the phone, again, that sort of thing hasn't worn on me. As I'd mentioned in my impressions videos, that Apple tends to recycle the look and the feel of the devices every couple of years, and then we get something new. And to be honest, I actually really like the look and feel of the new lineup of phones. I opted for a Pro this year just to get something a little bit smaller, and I'm not unhappy that I did. To be honest, I have tiny hands. We already know that. And using a Pro, far easier for me to use with one hand. I don't know how many times I dropped my 12 Pro Max on my face, just laying there using a phone, and that was it. I think I have a concussion or two from that, but I digress. The Pro Max this year, tempting, ended up with a Pro instead. Overall, I do think that the 13 Pro, or just really any of the 13s, are a phenomenal phone, especially if you want a mini. The 13 mini has a far better battery in it than what you would have received in a 12 mini. So if you are into the mini, and I know that you are because my mini video has 10,000 views, thank you for that. I would say that the 13 mini is definitely the one you want to go for. If battery is your absolute concern and size isn't necessarily a detractor for you, the 13 Pro Max is the way you're going to want to go. Yes, I remember that I had said in my impressions, as I'd already shown you, that I thought the 13 Pro battery was going to be impressive. And for your average user, it is. For me, is far too unstable. My mindset on this sort of thing is that if I were to take this phone on a vacation, for instance, whenever those happen again, can I really rely on that battery to be able to withstand a full day of either GPS, photography, videography, or really just general using the device various places that I go? I don't think that I can, unfortunately. It just barely, some days, lasted an 8-hour workday at my regular 9 to 5. It did, but just barely. And some of those days I barely touched my phone. It's food for thought. Anyway, did you get one of the new 13 lineup devices? If so, let me know in the comments which one you got and what you're thinking of it so far. I really want to get some conversation about this because, again, these devices are kind of an iterative update and a little bit recycled to a degree, but I want to know what you think of these devices. If you're really into this type of content, do me a favor and consider subscribing. And if you liked this video, hit that thumbs up. All right, you take care. I'll see you in the next one.